Welcome to the Late2Chess podcast. We're back. Dr. Pop Pop is in the house.
Hey, everybody.
Doctor, we have a guest.
I know, and I'm excited.
I know. So I first met our guest. I was going through a game with a fellow dojo player. He said, "Hey, let's review the game." I said, "Hey, sure." So we do a postmortem for like 15 minutes or so. And then all of a sudden, these two guys come into the room. "Hi, how are you doing?" And one of them is our guest, and another one is hopefully a soon to be future guest. So 3.5 hours later, we are still going through the game. Now, it's very nice. I loved it. It was amazing, except that we started going through the game at like 9:15 at night. And I'm an early kind of guy, not a late kind of guy. So it's like 12:30 and I'm just like, "Oh my God, I'm tired." And they were still going and you know me. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. So I hung in till the end. I think they were polite to me. They had a little bit of an advantage with different time zones, so they it wasn't quite so late for their time. But I have a feeling the way our guest works, he stays up late anyway. So you may know him as codename Carl, but most of the dojo knows him as Sweatgland. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So I only called you Sweetgland once.
Yeah.
So I just want to say I've only done it once. I can't make no promises for after an hour or so of talking to you that I don't blow it one more time. So I apologize ahead of time if my brain just goes sweet gland. I don't know why. It
Totally acceptable.
just
Yeah.
wants to go there. So
Yeah.
it's okay. Why sweat gland? Why sweat gland?
Yeah, okay. So my history a little bit is I used to take anatomy and physiology courses when I was prepping up to be a medical professional. I used to do occupational therapy, and I was at that time in my life when I liked playing video games. And so I thought to myself, you know, my username kept getting bounced out because somebody else had already taken it. And I thought to myself, I'll come up with an idea that I don't think anyone else would ever take. And I was learning about the endocrine system, so I typed in Sweatgland, and what do you know? Nobody else had that username. So
Shocking.
I've kept it ever since. And I think I only found one site ever that it was already taken, and it was Twitch. So yeah,
So it, I think it's a frog. It might be a gecko. It might be a lizard. It's some type of reptilian species.
yeah.
Does that thing have sweat glands or it,
No, so that was my Discord avatar prior to me even joining the dojo.
oh, okay.
I play Dungeons and Dragons from time to time, and that was one of my characters. It was a frog, and
Okay.
so yeah, yeah.
All right. All right. And we wanted to thank you for coming on the podcast. So we wanted to give you a title.
Oh,
It's not GM.
uh-huh,
We don't have that kind of swing.
uh-huh.
So we're gonna call you our unofficial Chess Dojo Sensei.
Yes. Wait, does that mean that I've reached DCP status?
I believe you are the definition of DCP for us.
Yes.
So
Okay. I'll
Yes.
I'll take that. I'll
yeah,
take that.
you have gone DCP. You have not defended the belt.
Okay,
That's
okay.
still TBD.
Right.
But
Uh,
it's kind of
I'll
fun.
I'll proudly
y-
take the title.
Yes, UDS, who's a DCP,
Hmm.
right? That's all right.
I think
Yeah.
All
so.
right.
He's got
Yeah.
two titles from like 6 minutes of podcast, so that's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
good.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
So something tells me when I met you in the Discord debrief room, that was not the first time you had ever played chess, and maybe you had some more history prior to that. So what might some of that be?
Yeah. So, um, I had seen chess being played when I was a child. My sister and brothers played it with each other, but I never really played it. I didn't know the rules of the game. I wasn't really around it much. I knew it was a game. And then I was over at a friend's house with my wife and his wife, and we were having a board game night a few times. And he saw me explaining my reasoning behind why I was making certain moves in board games, and he said, Carl, have you ever played chess before? I said, no. He said, well, that might be a game that you might be interested in. So I asked him, oh, and how do you know? He's like, well, I'm a relatively accomplished tournament player. Turns out he was like 1750 USCF.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I was like, I knew I didn't know what that meant at the time. And he offered, he's like, if you ever want to, I'd like to teach you how to play. I said, well, I'm flattered, thank you, but also no, thank you, because I have a bit of an obsessive personality, and when I go for something, I go hard in the paint. And I was, already obsessed with some other things at the time. So maybe, I don't know, 3, 4 months later was when COVID-19 hit, and my wife bought me a chess set, and I was working in the medical field. So I really wasn't doing anything outside of going to work and going home. So Queen's Gambit came out, watched that, and I said, "Hey, buddy, I feel like it's on." So yeah, then I dabbled with the game, right? So I learned the rules. I played a couple times with my wife. Um, I would say that my friend gave me a helping hand along the way, but we weren't meeting up and studying regularly. It was
Right.
more a matter of, playing games or just sending me puzzles. Then as I went through the following couple years, I did quite a few puzzles in my spare time, but only in the last about 12 months, 16 months have I really started studying hard. So yeah, and here I am now.
So what do you define as hard?
Oh, well, I would say when your brain starts to feel like it hurts.
Mm,
Like yeah, feeling brain fog due to the amount of effort that you've put in. For me, in the beginning, that was like maybe 45 minutes worth of hard work. Now my endurance has built up quite a bit. Um, Over the last year, I've put in just shy of 1,300 hours of sweat work in the dojo. So I put in about roughly 40 hours a week or so, sometimes a little less, sometimes more. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely a worker.
yeah, for sure. And you're not counting soft work either. That's just the hard, sweat work.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. That's, that's pretty impressive. I think
Thank you.
my hourly elo rate is not quite what I want it to be.
Yeah. Well, no, honestly, the thing about it is I'm really interested in getting better at the game.
Hmm.
I can't change my level of talent. I can't change the time that I started playing
No,
the game,
no.
which was in my early 30s. And so the only thing that I can modify is the efficiency of my training and the volume of my training.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to get really good at least one of those things and then try to improve on my efficiency as I go.
Hmm.
Um, I also have tried my best to keep my training fun and interactive and engaging. I'm a very social person, so if I can, hop in the Discord in the dojo and meet up with somebody and do, parallel studying, then that motivates me quite a bit.
So the doctor and I were talking about, I was explaining after we had gone through the game. I think we went through like two or three games like within a couple of weeks of each other.
Hmm.
And I was like, there's this one guy. I don't know why he spends so much time going over my games, but it's really helping me. But but it's a little scary. He has this much time to work on my game. Like I'm not going to tell him, hey, why are you wasting your time on this little schmuckety schmuck over here? But I was like, it's amazing. He's like, I know. There's this one guy I know, and I'm like, oh, who is it? He's like this Sweatgland, and I'm like, that's the guy. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you had helped both of us without us contacting each other. So it was kind of funny.
Well, and again, I would say in the past maybe 12 to 16 months is when I've really picked up my pace on studying, and during that time I've had a change in work status, so I was able to get to the point where um, we didn't, me and my wife, dual income, no kids, didn't need to have high income anymore, so I went ahead and stepped away from work. So I'm consider myself to be quasi early retired.
Hmm.
So I've got as much time as I can stand to work on my hobbies and interests. And um, yeah, and for the listeners out there, I've reached a peak USCF rating of about 1445, I think was my best. Um, and I hover somewhere in that range. So
Yeah, it's good to be a dink.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Understood. Understood. So before we get too much into it, I've got some stupid questions.
Okay.
Who do you play like, and who do you wish you played like more?
Okay, so I think I probably play a bit like tall, probably. I'm a wild attacking player.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I will play with the initiative and aggression, probably more so than is sound. I'm certainly a barbarian style player. Um, and who do I wish that I played more like? Um, gosh, like tall.
I think that's going to be a pretty common answer every time I ask this
I
question.
mean, I mean, you know, stylistically I'm there. Skill level I'm nowhere near there, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to get a little better at not making moves that explode positions when it doesn't benefit me. Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
So would you say it would be beneficial to you and or our listeners to work more on their strengths or more on their weaknesses?
It's a great question. I've oscillated back and forth between one and the other. So I would say early on, I enjoyed tactics and I did quite a bit of tactics. And I would say I was relatively able to pick up calculation on the easier side, even though my brain was scrambled. So I just dove into my strengths for a while, but then I started reaching a level where it was like doing more puzzles didn't really help me. And I think I was frustrated because I was solving puzzles at a very high rate, but then my games were just trash. And I was like, why? Why am I losing? I think when you realize that you're being held back by one of your weaknesses, it's time to address it.
Hmm.
Um, so I went through the process of addressing behavioral cues like I was moving too quickly. I addressed like hydration, nutrition, sleep, anxiety. A lot of those things were holding me back in games. I'd get so nervous during games that I just would like not be able to think or calculate. And also my positional and strategic knowledge was just not there. So I paired up with some people that were strong at that, and I learned from them.
Mm.
So I would say I think that the general consensus is that if you work on your weaknesses, you'll be a more well-rounded player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the doctor and I share the problem of so many weaknesses to work on.
Well, that's yeah, and me too. That's the thing. I've been able to really kind of do a smattering of different things. I don't necessarily do focused work on one thing, um, because everything can improve.
Yeah,
So
for sure. For sure.
And do you think that your style of play, um, like like tall, is that a natural? Is that a natural thing? Is that like your DNA? Because I've been working on. Have you heard of Chessiverse?
I've heard of it before, and Bill
Yeah,
was
yeah.
telling me briefly about it, but I no, I haven't been to the site at all.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, and one of the things it tells you what your chess after like 20 game, 30 games, what your chess personality is, and I don't know what the algorithm is to figure that. It tells you your percentage, and it seems to me that we're inclined maybe to play some way because that's the way we do everything in life, right? Or many things in life. I'm wondering if you can. Should you go with that or should you change it? Like I was disappointed in my chess personality because it sounded more like what you're talking about. I wanted to play like Capablanca, but I got this 87% Magnus Carlsen, but not like the good stuff, just kind of
Yeah.
like the risky, yeah, grinding it out, finding ways to win out of things that seem impossible to win. Not a very, to be quite honest, I don't find that a very great way to win or play chess. So I'm just curious if to you, do you think that you're playing what you're naturally inclined to play, or did the chess do it to you, or did you do it to the chess?
Yeah, so I think I can be a relatively confident person at times. I can be a bit of a risk taker in some areas in life. Um, I'm certainly excited to see beautiful moves. Like I love a good tactic. Like if you can sacrifice a thing and open something up and get this flashy checkmate, like that's awesome, right? That's what I play for. But on the flip side of that, I also think it's a little bit nature nurture, right? Like I am that way, but also the person that taught me the game was a much more positionally based player, played a little
Mm.
slower, played a little more developing, played more compact. And the only way that I was able to get an edge against him was when I would do wild things. I would sacrifice, I would open, I would be aggressive, I would play with initiative, and he would be preparing, 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 and I would just throw the everything at him. And like one out of every 50 games, I would catch him with something, and it was thrilling for me. I was like, wow, I took a rook. Like, I can't believe that worked. Of course, he still ended up beating me, but so I think that I learned early on, I was incentivized due to my peer and teacher that um, this was something that would work for me. So I think I learned that way naturally. Um, and I didn't even know what my style was. So before joining the dojo, I couldn't have told you what my style was. But having worked with multiple different people in my cohorts, multiple stronger players, I've been given the feedback from them of like, oh, you're relatively strong at calculation, tactics, and end games for your level. Um, and that meant that if I was relatively strong at that, I was relatively terrible at positional, strategic, not
Right.
blundering. Um, so
Right.
yeah, hard to say.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, you know, we like to brag that we are the lowest rated podcast hosts in the field of chess, and hopefully we'll change that at some point. But we got a long way to go, and the constant uh, pursuit of the intercontinental decent chess player title is still there. Oh,
Oh yeah.
by the way, breaking news! Breaking news!
Okay.
One Dr. Pop Pop won the evening 30-minute chess.com tournament,
Ooh,
well on his way to DCP.
the doctor is in.
That's right.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was more. I got 3.5 out of 4. I was more about mad about the draw that to a guy who's 400 points less than me. I'm like, come on now, how can I not checkmate this guy? I was so mad, and then I didn't realize till at the last. I'm like, oh wait, I won it. I won the thing. I won the 4 rounds.
Three
Yeah.
and a, 3.5 out of 4 wins it most of the time.
Nice
Yeah.
job, man. Nice job.
Yeah, I mean, there was like three people. We're all around between 1,000 and 1,000, 1,100. Like you only can go to 1199 in this that section. The rest are 9, 7, 4. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had trouble against that 700 guy. I'll tell you, it was
Well,
like
and again, I mean, these ratings, they
they don't
again,
mean anything. They
uh,
don't mean anything.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I
I,
keep saying. They don't mean anything. I don't care anymore. I'm doing it so I can graduate, move along the dojo. But the only thing that I really care about is if I'd like to get a nice and growing USCF.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That means something. This other stuff, I mean, people are one, the pool is a lot larger, right, than it used to be, for sure.
Mhm.
And two, you know, they're steadily climbing. So it's really not an indication just because a guy's 700. Well, who knows who's he? I might just be beating randos all the time,
Yeah,
where he's beating, really good players. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we don't.
thanks for the shout out, Bill, though.
Hey,
Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah. One thing we joke about is don't play within the dojo if you're looking for ratings gains.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah, exactly.
no,
That's a tough matchup there.
It's like
yeah.
+8, -4, +7, -12. Okay, ended up 0. Tough
Yep.
to graduate.
Though, though I have to say, in lead chess, playing lead chess, you get some better numbers because when you play in these chess.com thing, I mean, you get 3 point. I got 1 point. A guy was really low, like 500 or something, And I played this game. I got 1 point, but if I lost, I would have lost 19 points.
Yep.
And in the draw, that made me mad too. I drew a guy. I said I lost points.
Yep.
I lost 6 points. I'm like, in any other game, that's just a tie.
Yes, but that's the bane of being the higher rated folk. I mean, that's the
Ah,
thing. If you're a lower rated person, oftentimes it's a little scarier. You're like, oh, this guy's going to be so much better. I might lose, whatever. No, no, no. It's the other way around. That person is sitting there thinking to themselves, this is a must win for me. I have to beat this guy.
yeah,
Otherwise, I'm going to lose all my points.
yeah.
So,
It's terrible, but it's true.
yeah, yeah.
It's what happens when you're a 4-digit player, doctor. Get used to it.
Wow.
That's right. Okay, so Mr. Sweatgland,
Yeah.
we're aiming at, people like us, you know, average player. I'm actually scarily close to the 50th percentile in Pennsylvania, which is good and sad at the same point.
Hmm.
But coming in late, maybe, or just getting started, or maybe even people that aren't as good as we are at this point, but they will
Hmm.
be. There's some inherent chess lingo, jargon, concepts that aren't really adequately explained.
Hmm.
And kind of when you talk to some of the more accomplished players, they're just kind of assumed and like, oh, you know what this means. Like,
Yeah.
put the pieces on good squares.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, they're all square. They're all good squares. They're all like both sides are the same and 90 degrees and all that good stuff. Or activate your pieces. Activate your pieces to me originally meant, hey, move my piece off the last line
Hmm.
and it's active now because I've activated it. No, that's not what they meant. But nobody tells you what these things mean. So, do you have any kind of indoctrination tips into the hell that is the jargon of chess and how to deal with some of these fairly simplistic words that mean very deep conceptual ideas?
Can
Yeah.
we get
So I think that I have been frustrated in my progress of learning as a student myself. I've been frustrated multiple times when stronger players would speak about concepts as if I understood them, or they would say something and I'd say, "Well, what do you mean by that?" I think chess has this weird way of having. It's almost like multiple bubble Venn diagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got like this Venn diagram,
mm,
and sometimes this rule would apply in this situation. And then there's this other one, and sometimes it applies to that situation. And there's this other one, and there's this other one, and there's this other one, because the game of chess is so complex that the one rule can't, capture it all. And that's why it's so interesting, and we come back to it. But as long as you understand what the rules are to begin with, you will not be able to apply the rules at the right times, right?
Yep.
And once you gain a skill set, so I think of being able to do like calculation and visualization as being a skill set. If you can only see 2 moves deep for ply, or if you can see 6 moves deep, or if can take the calculation and see if it works or not in that position, that's like a um, that's like a function that will make sure that it's correct. And that's a skill that newer players just don't have yet. So when you're starting off, you learn the basic rules. You don't know when to apply them. And you're like, guys, tell me when to apply them. Why doesn't this just work? And it's like, well, because you have to then synthesize those Venn diagrams and be able to read when they apply and when they don't. So I think that that's where working with someone who's um, who's more recently been through that stage of progress from like these ideas being so wide and broad to being able to cross over. Um, Someone who's more familiar with how it felt to be a newer player, sometimes that can help. I don't know if I rambled on there for too much, but does that
No,
make sense?
it does. I
Okay.
I think um to me, and this is linguistics, but the rules are the rules, but I think you were talking more about like principles of chess, not like
Yeah.
rules of chess.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
move the pawn 1 or 2 squares forward or attack
Hmm.
diagonally. That's a rule. It's like that
Hmm.
applies everywhere. But we have a friend who is very principle based,
Hmm.
and I think to their detriment. And almost, I'm not going to say they do it so they don't have to calculate, but they may trust the principle more than if they did calculate.
They
And that
become a bit dogmatic, maybe.
yes, like
Yeah.
my rook must be on an open file. It's like
Yeah.
maybe, but maybe not, maybe not.
Yeah, so I would say that that's one of the reasons why, like, my transition from being rated about 1,000 up to the level that I'm at now is when I feel like, because I've expanded my ability to see deeper into the position, and
Hmm.
I've just been kind of basted in these different ideas and concepts so much, I've had enough games to experience like, oh yeah, when that happened, it felt like it was really bad, and I didn't even understand why it was so bad. But now that I can apply the rule to that, it makes a little more sense.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I only now start to feel like I can apply the rules to what situations they would matter in. That
mm.
I feel like,
Or when
um,
to disregard them.
yes, exactly, exactly. And I have the ability to say, I think this rule works, calculate to see if it does or doesn't. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, well then now what? Um, so yeah, I think building up your skill set and then being able to apply them in a nuanced way is kind of how you will gain skill at the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't on my list to start the podcast. However, you mentioned a single word that now puts it on the podcast, largely for listeners, I don't know, named Dr. Pop Up. You mentioned this word called anxiety in
Ah,
chess. And you
yeah,
mentioned, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast where the doctor often goes off on his ELO rant, or where he says, how can you be unrated and be 1650
yeah,
twice in the same
yeah,
tournament? And, if you just tell him before the game, you're 1650, just mark it down as a W for you, because he is such a mental basket case that it's over. Like, it's
yeah,
over.
yeah.
So do you have any words of wisdom or perhaps advice or a club that we could use on the doctor or anyone like him?
Yes, absolutely. So I think that the reason why this is happening is because getting better at chess really matters to him. It really matters. And he's put a lot of time and effort into it, and he's invested himself, and he's putting himself on the line. That's one of the reasons why, going and playing in OTB tournaments and really putting yourself out there, it's being vulnerable. Um, and I think it hurts to expose yourself to that risk and get bit by it. Um, and I think the best way that I've come up with, and I'm still a work in progress, by the way. I've also suffered with extreme anxiety when I'm over the board, like so much so where I'll get to the game, I'll be sweating, I'll be breathing hard, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I look at this person, I'm just tunnel visioning, right? My brain has switched over into a fight or flight mode, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm about to go to battle with this person over the chessboard. So if you can't regulate back into a chill, rest and relax, right? Rest and digest mode of your brain, then you won't be able to use that deeper thinking skill that we have. So I think one way that you can disengage yourself from that anxiety is reframe the game, right? So remembering this is only a game where you're moving wooden or plastic pieces over a board. Nothing's on the line. You get to go home, you get to eat food, right? Like there's no extreme danger. And I think it's easy for your brain who had to, be aware of dangers in the past to be tricked into the fact that when you're fighting over the board, you're in a real fight for your life, right? So if you reframe it as this is just a game, and then also if you set your win condition, your goal for a game to be gain experience. The goal is not gain points. The goal is take away ways that you can modify your own chess algorithm. If you can increase your understanding of the game, you've had a victory that day, regardless of if you won, drew, or lost. I think it's something to keep in mind because so chess is a game that takes a long time to get better at. And a lot of people that have a lot more talent than me never reached the level of skill that I got to because they couldn't take the emotional turmoil, the hits. They they lost, they hated it, they were so averse to that pain that they left. So I'm only here because I kept going back, right? I'm a glutton for punishment. I reframed it in my mind. So if you can, when you're going to play in a game, if you can tell yourself, I'm lucky. I get to go to a place where, I'm safe, I'm healthy, I get to push wood on the board, and I'll be okay. Um, you don't have to gain the points immediately. The goal is to be a better chess player in 5 years, not tomorrow. The goal is not to win the game. Be a better chess player in 5 years, and that way you can take a little pressure off yourself.
That's really good. And I've been reading a lot about about that very subject, and particularly about confidence. And I think the thing that disturbs me, because I agree with everything you said, but what
You just don't
happens?
do any of it.
No, I mean, like the 1650 player that I played, I did actually. I mean, I was confronted with that knowledge, right? And I'm like, ah, man. And but the more that I played, I'm like, oh, I can hang with this person. I'm playing good chess, right?
Hmm.
And I think the killer, and it's chess is a strange mistress because after reflection, after talking to Bill after the game, or that my opponent talking to Bill, then going over it several times, and then going over it in the dojo, that I was shown and I saw 3 times that I could have won.
Hmm.
I was 1 or 2 moves, Bill,
Yeah, one
or
move
two,
really.
1 move 1 time from winning. I played great actually for my level against the 1650,
Yeah.
and that made me more mad. I wish because then I played another fella after the second in the second round who was 1650, a young fella, and
Yeah.
he just wiped me off, and I was totally okay with that. I tried, I couldn't do it. He was good, and I tell this to him all the time. I don't losing like that. I'm okay with, right? But to know that this person is supposedly because the elo is everything, even
Hmm.
though I know deep down it's not right, but elo is everything. He has this massive elo, right? And almost won 3 times,
Yeah.
but I didn't see it. I didn't calculate it fully, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather have been wiped off the thing. That's the
Yeah.
so I agree with everything you're saying, but when that happens to me, it's like so I overcame the anxiety
Yeah.
to play chess, to play good chess, right, for my level.
Hmm.
Then I blew it because and I'm thinking, well, if you play good chess, a lot of good things can happen.
Let me tell you a little anecdote.
Sure,
So
I
I
need it.
myself, being a mid 1400s rated USCF player, I'm typically stronger than most casual players, right? I can typically beat most casual players given rook odds or something like that. Now,
Mhm.
um, I've also lost games, straight up games against people that probably are rated 500. Like in the past year, I've probably lost a game to a person that would have the skill of an approximate 500. So I can lose. And I'll tell you this much as well. In the first couple years of me playing, I played in a simul at my local chess club, and I was rated 1080 at the time. And there was a man, international master John William Donaldson, that came to put on a simul. He was playing against 20 people, and this guy is a master. He's a great player. I beat him in the simul, and I was like flabbergasted, right? I was shocked. I was sitting there after I won and over the board. I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, this can't be real. Um, but like this is all a dream. And the thing that I walked away from that experience understanding was, if I can beat Donaldson in a simul game, anyone can beat anyone. Now, I am also aware of the fact that the statistical anomaly of the fact that I was able to win in that situation will never it'll never be recreated. I have this, like, fluke situation where he just happened to play too quickly and blundered a mate in two, where, if we played straight up, I just wouldn't win, right? So I don't think of it like I won the game. I think of it like he lost the game. But
Mhm.
it was an absolute, like, mind-blowing experience. Um, I even like took the score sheet. I was like, "Hey, please sign this. Nobody's going to believe me. Could you take a picture with me? Can I buy your book? Whatever." Um, it made my year. I'm not lying. Like, it made my year.
Sure, sure.
Um, but what I walked away with the knowledge of was anyone can beat anyone. And if you're signing up to play in a tournament and you're going to go and fight against somebody, just remember, anyone could win. It's not a foregone conclusion. Now, if it's a matter of a skill issue, then there will be more opportunities in the future. when you play a game against a 1650 and you have a winning position and you just weren't ready yet, but just remember that means that in the future you'll have more opportunities. You'll be able to beat these guys, right?
Mm,
They're not they bleed, you know? We bleed. Uh
yeah.
so you'll have these opportunities again. You just weren't ready this time. So you glean those lessons, you take them, you come back stronger. That's the iteration. That's the cycle. You want more exposure to that cycle. Um, what were the lessons that you learned from that loss? What were the lessons that you learned that you should have done this because, right? That's the main gold that you're trying to mine out of that situation.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You
Can I
know
ask
what
a,
I don't do? I don't believe that people who are better than me can do like stupid just blunders, and I just don't even look for them.
I can tell you, we blunder.
I
People
know
people much higher than me blunder. Again, like blundering a mate and two and a simul. And again, it was probably the only time that he did that in, you know, 400 games or
years,
something.
right?
I happened to be the lucky one who was sitting on the board at the time, but I'll sure take it. Gosh. Yeah,
can I
Dr.
ask
Pop Pop. Yeah, go for it.
a question? Back to the principles. If
Hmm.
I was talking to someone about principles, and do I'm going to say it this way, and I don't even know what I mean by this, but maybe you will.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the dogmatic thing too. Do principles dictate the game, or does the game dictate the principles?
I
I mean,
think that
it might not be black and white. I don't know. It might
yeah,
be more
yeah.
gray.
I think the best way to say it is the principles are principles for a reason,
Right.
but the 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 game of chess is a concrete game. There are times in a game where only one move is the correct move. There are other times when a dozen moves are roughly equal. So it is objectively true that the principles should work in most situations, but I think you have to learn the nuance of when to apply them and the skill. Chess is a skill-based game, right? These ideas are helpful, but the skill of chess is the practical application of it, right? So you can have great knowledge, but if you can't read the board and see what it's asking of you, you won't be able to apply those principles. If I hope that answers your question.
It does. It also because it makes me wonder the place of creativity
Hmm.
in
Oh,
chess because that's what I'm interested in because I feel that's part of my or maybe it's intuition. I don't know, that now I'm just always wondering. Okay, I really should just stick to the principles,
yeah.
especially after like that whole chess personality thing. I'm like, just because you win doesn't mean you're playing good chess.
So I think something that I've done a fair amount in the last 6 months is I've played a lot of solitaire chess. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the method of what solitaire chess is.
I
I've
am.
heard of it.
So
I don't know I don't know.
so you go through the process of taking a master game, one where you're playing as the person that wins the game, and you try to
Oh,
play
okay.
guess the move with each of the moves along the way.
Oh,
Sometimes you can
yeah.
like go through the first opening, to get to the part where they're out of book, so that
Yeah.
there's actual some question of what best move will be other than just theory. And then you give yourself a timer. And what I've done is you go anywhere between 2 minutes to 5 minutes. Typically, I've been doing 2 minutes at a time, and I study with a group of people. Um, and you take those 2 minutes and you try to figure out what would I play in this position. And I write my move down at the end of the 2 minutes, and then we see what the master played. And if it was the right move, and they played it and I played it, hey, I found a move that a chess master would have made, right? And that's empowering, that's encouraging. And if they make a different move than what you play, you ask yourself why. Why did they do something different? And you try to figure it out. Sometimes you'll grasp it, sometimes you won't. And you just keep tally of what it was. After the game is over, you have exposed yourself to multiple points where there were probably three or four different branching spots where a person with this style or that style would have gone left or right or center, whatever. And maybe you, as a chess player, understand how to go left in that position, right? Maybe you know how to pour on the gas and play with aggression, but the master chooses to play in a positional, closed, slow style. Both are equal from the computer standpoint, but you just wouldn't know how to deal with the situation. You don't have the skill set to play down this other style. So those expand your mind intensely. Um, Again, if you can only see one way out of it and there's only one path, great, you find the door. If you can only see one way out, but there were seven ways and that door closes, you might lose a game that's totally winning just because you don't have that creativity. You don't have the knowledge basis of how to handle different types of positions. So I think that playing solitaire chess is a super helpful way of doing it. After the game, I go through and I'll, you know, after analyzing it with another person, I'll then turn the engine on and I'll say, was my move, roughly the same? Was my move a blunder? Was my move a mistake?
Mm.
And if it was a relatively equal move, I'll say, great, good for me. I found a reasonable move. If it was a blunder, then I'm like, okay, so this was a move that I really need to dig deeply into, right? Um, but again, I think being able to apply your knowledge to different types of positions is important, and I that's one way that I've done that.
Hmm.
I've done that. I didn't know it was called solitaire chess.
Hmm.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to what Bill was saying about these. You hear these terms, like even today, Bill sent a podcast, and Dan Heisman was on it, and I finally got a great definition of pawn break. Because I think I kind of knew it, but not really, until he's in a sentence he said, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, all right, I know what that is. All right. So,
Yeah. It's like when we do these Tower Chest episodes, it's 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 one of those things where the principles that the Tower Chest goes through, it's like, I understood it when I read it the first time, and then I understood it much more now. And then I think if I read this like a year or two from now, hopefully again, I'll really understand it, and then I'll know exactly what it means, and then I'll read it a year from then and be like, no, you didn't need exactly know what it means. So it just,
Yeah, yeah, there's levels. There's levels to it. I mean, even when I started off, I thought I was good at tactics, right? And I
yeah.
would go through and I would solve them, and then I would enter into a dojo room or Discord room with these guys that are like 1800, 2000 or whatever, and I was just like overwhelmed. I was like, "Oh boy, I do not belong in this room right now. Like I can't even keep up with the way that they're talking about the moves, right? I was just like getting lost." And then I just kept exposing myself to that volatile situation of like being overwhelmed and overstimulated. And eventually I started feeling like I was kind of catching up a little bit. But even now, like, I might spot a tactic, but it might take me 5, 10 seconds. Whereas a person like senior or a person like much stronger players, they see it and they know it instantly. And I've been going through lately and I've been working on lower level difficulty puzzles to really try to get those patterns memorized. I didn't feel like any volume of doing tactics in the past would actually download those like patterns to my brain well because it was just so hard. I was having to calculate every one of them.
Hmm.
Now I feel like because my calculation level is stronger, now I feel like the resistance to downloading those mental patterns is decreased. Now I feel like I'm actually like learning the patterns and seeing them with immediate recognition. Like I understand them at a different nuanced level. And I'm sure that there's levels higher and higher up as
Yeah.
it goes. I'm still a work in progress in that way. Um,
So there's this chess player I know, and he thought, hey, I'm going to do all these simple puzzles, and I'm going to memorize them all, and it'll be like pattern recognition. Life is good. Life is good.
mhm.
And then you know what he did? He said, dude, I got this down. I can nail all these chess.com, lead chess, pick a book, any book. I can do all these simple ones. So you know what I don't have to do? I don't have to calculate anymore. And you know what happened? You know what happened? Like for the next 4 or 5 weeks, whoosh. I don't know who this guy was. Weird guy. Weird guy. Might have a
some
podcast.
some rando.
Some
Yeah.
rando dude. Some definitely not a dojo member. But
No.
you know, 4 or 5 weeks later, might have been the first time his rating dipped, 50 points or so. Whatever. That's fine. I think he learned though. I talked to him about it. He might have a handle on it now.
Well, Okay, that actually speaks to another recommendation of mine. So one of my philosophies, other than just like, so I try to kind of expose myself to a high volume of chess training, and the
Hmm.
way I do it is I typically I'll meet up with people online or in person and I'll say, what do you want to work on today? And if they say openings, then I'll say, great, I'll practice whatever opening you want to try. If they say end game sparring, I'll say, great, I'll do that. If they want to play a rapid game, if they want to talk about middle games, if they want to do tactics puzzles, anything they want to do, I'm just along for the ride because A, I think that if they're excited about it, I'm going to be more excited about it. And B, if I go with what they want to do, I will force myself out of my little routine, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to be exposed to multiple different things, especially if I do this with multiple people. Um, Lost track briefly of what I was saying.
Doing
Uh,
different things, approaching it from different directions,
yeah.
lots of puzzles, doing puzzles, ignoring calculation.
Okay, I'm back on track. So
Okay.
one of the issues that I've seen some people get stuck with is they'll find their little routine. They'll
Hmm.
think that it's good to do a million of these puzzles, but they do the same puzzles over and over again. Like, you're supposed to do the mate and ones, right?
Yep. Yep.
That's one of the prescribed tasks and trainings. Well, some people will go through, they'll do the first 100 mate and ones, and then because the dojo says don't go any further past that, they'll go back through and solve all the mate and ones again, and then they'll
Hmm.
go back through and they'll solve all the mate and ones again and again and again. And I'm just like, buddy, you gotta expose yourself to novelty, right? Neurons make connections when they're exposed to new things. New stimulus is good. And there is a certain amount of like downloading patterns that comes with time, but I don't think that you're going to create new growth and learning if you're going through the same dogmatic way of training. So I would recommend that people mix things up. You know, if if you're working on openings, then work on openings for a month. And then after a month, don't touch openings. Do tactics now and work on tactics for a month. And then switch it up, just go to strategies. Constantly change yourself. Cause yourself to have to stretch and grow. Um, yeah, you'll find the weaknesses. And when you see a weakness, like if you go in and you're doing like pin puzzles and you're getting them wrong all the time, that's the thing you want to lean into.
Right. Well, this chess player, a friend of mine, he uh he got I think he became overly obsessed with pattern recognition
Hmm.
to the detriment of any calculation visualization.
Hmm.
And then there's this other dojo guy. Let's call him, I don't know, Sweatgland. And he said, dude, what are you doing? You need to do this. And then that guy, whoever this guy is, hopefully he's doing better by now, was told the prescription of keep doing the puzzles, but calculate them out in your head, write it down, which, that guy was doing. And I theoretically think that if they had the time to play games, the slump would be over,
Yeah,
theoretically,
nice.
for that guy.
Yeah, it's almost like he got cracked out of his shell and routine,
Yeah.
and uh, yeah, had some novelty exposed.
Fixed a problem by creating a worse problem. Yeah, it was great. Nothing better. Nothing better.
Wow.
If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing, even if what you're doing is wrong.
Well, tell your friend I'm happy for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
I will be very happy for him as well if this turns out to be true. Okay, so I think we've come to the point in the podcast where we do our weekly dojo testimonial. So totally not sponsored because we why would this be any other part of chess where we make any money? No. What helped you in the dojo the most?
Oh boy. Okay, I'm a big fanboy.
Yeah.
So first off, um, my friend used to go bounce all over. I mean, he bought a ton of books and he would read parts of one and then switch to this other book. And then it was like there's too many things.
I got
It
the same
keeps
friend. He
it
looks just like
keeps
me.
you on the straight and narrow. It says, don't worry if it's the most efficient way, do the thing, right? So this wipes out any sort of um, fear of missing out, right? No more FOMO, right? You have a routine, you have a structure. And me as like a workout guy, like I like the routine that way. I can trust the process. You tell me the process, I'll work the process. Number two, tracking. Oh boy, the pretty colors in the heat map. I am telling you, I joined the heat map heroes. I made I made a little image in my heat map where there was this rook of tactics. So I took a little pixelated dot image and I did tactics on the right days to show the green boxes showing up. That was super motivating for me. It kind of burnt my brain out as well because if I goofed and I did something else that day, and then I'd have to come back to it and work an extra 2 hours on tactics just to make the box green. It's like, but it gamifies it, right?
Yeah,
The
for
other
sure.
thing, the number one thing I think that the dojo benefits is the Discord. I've learned more from the Discord than anywhere else. And I'm kind of sad when I see the number of people that are involved in the dojo that don't hop in the Discord, that don't join a voice call, that don't get engaged in the community because the community is where it's at, man. Like there's a lot of people that are willing to help you out. There's a lot of plus, minus, and equals that want to meet up with you, do sparring. And sure, there can be people that you might not jive with. Don't worry about that. Find some other people. In general, there I have received probably hundreds of hours of free training just from the people there giving their time to you. If you're a hard worker, people are going to be interested in pouring training on you because, you know, we've all been there once. So yeah, the Discord is the number one thing, in my opinion, but it's all
Well,
good.
I would say that, well, so I'm getting to know you, okay,
Hmm.
Carl Sweatgland.
Yeah.
Uh, right. So, but I have found that the Discord is scary. For,
Yes.
like, cause so like I would go and I would listen. I've listened to you and Senior and the Planet Guy or whoever I forget, and some other, and I go and listen. I'm like, I'll just be quiet. I'm like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness. I said, I am. This is, it. But so I'm like, I back away from it. Instead, I really what I should do is I know and engage and just listen. You
Just
know,
ask the question. They're more than willing. I've asked
I
the dumb question.
yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is I've been afraid to up until recently to get on there and ask the dumb question because I don't want to look dumb, which is a flaw of my mind that I have to deal with. Uh, and so it's because it's not because nobody's not been nice or anything like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I mean, the minute you come on, oh, we have somebody else that's on, so it's not, and I get it, but yeah, not just I don't know how to put it other than being, feeling like you don't know anything or that you don't belong, even though that's not because that's how you make people feel. That's on me. Oh, I don't want to look dumb, you know.
Yeah, and everyone that goes in there is gonna look dumb. Just the other day, I was in
Right.
there trying to help a guy in one of the first beginning cohorts, right? And he was going through and solving puzzles on Step Chess, this website that has these tactics trainers on them. And there was this puzzle where it was like a distraction, right? So it's you draw the king to a square where it can be checkmated. And I took him through this whole training on how he should be thinking about the positions, this and that. And you give a check and it draws the king to this square, yada yada. And he was like, "Oh, but that's not right. That's not the right answer." And I was like, "No, no, no, that's the right answer." And he was like, "How much you want to bet?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'll bet you anything or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, he doesn't see it. You don't see it." And I'm like, "What is going on?" And I was pretty adamant about the fact that like this is the answer, buddy. And it turned out that the start of the position was my king was in check. And I hadn't even noticed that because I was so busy, teaching him these other concepts and things. And so like again, I just like put my foot right in my own face. I was just like I'm a fool right now, right? And we had a good chuckle about it, right?
Yeah.
And but like, you know, if there's a person that's willing to put themselves out there, uh, you want to take those scrapes, those bumps, and those bruises in the dojo with your sparring partners, right? Because there's camaraderie there. There's people that know if you're working hard, you take your lumps there so you don't have to take them over the board. You don't have to feel that shame and embarrassment when you're at the board playing a rated game, right? You do it here in a protected space.
Mhm.
Now, again, there are people that you'll work well with, and there are people that might be abrasive to you, but you can always, prune yourself out of that situation. But if you never expose yourself, also being overstimulated, right? Some of these rooms, they get 20, 30 people in them, and it's like everybody's talking and you get overwhelmed. Right. So I would say you don't even have to go in those rooms all the time, but just use it as a way to connect with people. Like we're doing now on video calls. The technology of being able to put a screen up and maneuver and speak to each other and solve puzzles that you can both see. Technology is amazing for co-training, especially being in different states or whatever. Um, you just find a
Yeah.
bunch of chess nerds. That's what the dojo is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got multiple options here, but I don't want to take up your entire evening. So
Shoot,
let
go away. No, I'm not saying go away. I'm saying shoot. Give me, give
okay.
me, give me questions. If you've got more, send them.
Okay, it's a
Yeah,
simple one. You talked about you played a lot of board games.
yeah.
The doctor and I are putting together a board game Olympics. We haven't decided if it's heptathlon or decathlon.
Okay,
We would like you to nominate a new game for us to include in the board game Olympics.
okay.
Right.
So, do you have? Let's see. Do you have Ticket to Ride?
We do not. I have the game though.
Do you have Hive?
I do. I've never played Hive.
Hive, I think would be a fun one.
Hive.
Hive is,
Okay.
yeah. Also, Mastermind. Have you
I
guys
have
played
that.
Mastermind?
I have.
Mastermind is a great game. Mastermind is awesome. It's also a game that has essentially no luck. I mean, you if you figure it out, you can like solve it via logic,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And games like that are ones that I really enjoy.
Okay.
All these games of chaos and randomness where it's like if you win, who cares? Because it was literally just a roll of the dice. There was no skill base. Those they're fun. Don't get me wrong, they're fun. But yeah, those are some good games.
Okay.
Um,
All right. That's the easy game. That's the easy one for the rest of the day.
all
All
right.
right. So we're up to I think we're up to board five now. So we'll have to we'll keep you posted. We're
Okay.
planning on having this in the summertime once doctor gets some free time. Okay. So
Nice.
the doctor has something that torments him. One of many things.
This
He's
this is like my therapy session.
that's right. Doctor,
Do
sit on
you
the sofa. Shut up and sit on the sofa.
do
Uh,
you find yourself waking from a night terror with the image of a small frog in your mind?
That's right.
You might be
yeah,
suffering from post-traumatic sweat
That's
gland
right.
syndrome.
That's right.
No.
that's
You
right.
you you have stayed up too late on Discord with Sweatgland again.
That's right.
So, so he gets. I can't think of the correct adjective, but he gets this thing when he reaches a certain point in the game that's not the opening, and it's transitioning to the middle game or in the middle of the middle game, where he almost vapor locks up if he doesn't know like what the plan is or what the next move is.
Hmm.
And I don't think it's a function of chess knowledge or skill or anything, but it'll actually, I see it as hurting his game because he gets so tight because he doesn't have it that then the next move really sucks.
Yeah. Okay, so I can see it being one of a couple different things. Number one, it could be that he's hitting his mental rev limiter. It might be that he's worked so hard in the opening to where now he's getting to a stage where his mind is becoming fatigued. Tell me if that's the case or not, but your working memory can only do so much. And when you're first starting off, your brain hasn't pruned out all the other options that you're looking at. So you're looking at all these different moves. And sometimes that can overwhelm your brain. So if you feel like it's a fatigue issue, then, you know, training more and more often will build that endurance up. Number two, I think it could also be that you aren't able to identify key components of middle game strategy, right? So what am I shooting for? Am I looking for pawn breaks? What are the weaknesses? Are there any hanging pieces? Are all of my pieces on their best ideal square? How, um, understanding if this knight or that bishop is good. Should I make a trade? Why? Why not? Right? A lot of those things are really more like middle game strategy based, and you might be out of your knowledge of what tools to apply to that situation. And there are layers and layers and layers of other ideas the deeper you go into the game. Um, so it might be a knowledge issue. I don't know. Does one of those sound like it might be
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah. Definitely definitely the second one,
okay.
because what then happens, because then you'd be like, well, how do why does your rating keep going up, or why you keep winning? Well, because of the people that I'm playing, they don't play good moves. So I don't have to work as hard necessarily for too long in the middle game, because they'll make this maybe not absurd. I mean, I can recognize if it's not that great a move, right? Or
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be a blunder or anything. I'll be like, huh. And then I'll calculate that, and it's back to that risk thing. Instead of working harder in the middle game preparation and training, when I get to it, I'm really looking for them to show me their flaws, and then I take advantage of it. And that's why a lot of times I win before there's an actual end game, which
Hmm.
is good. Which is good, because that's a terrible weakness as well as my end. But
Ooh, okay. So now we have exposure to a new place that you need to be studying, huh?
yeah, well, I am, and then there'll be some games where you'll be like, well, that was a 60, you know, move game, and you did great. Well, yeah, everybody can. What is a squirrel can find a nut every once in a while, right? So it's not.
I've seen
Well,
some of your games, and I think some of them were pretty slick. I'll be honest with you. I was impressed by a few of your games.
yeah, so some of them I'm just like, yeah, okay, I got it. But then there are times but a lot of times I think that's because of my opponent, not so much they make it easier on me, you know, not so much that I got all this skill. So in the middle game, I think, Bill's right. I get locked up, and I'm like, all right, now what do I do? And I'm looking, okay, where's this piece? And I'm looking more for my opponent's poor play than my developed, thought out plan for a middle game, or what's next, or kind of thing. And so I'm good at seeing that what the other person is not, but uh, I mean, today I played a game where I had a plan, and it worked
Hmm.
out, but that's not a majority of it,
Yeah,
of my games, I don't think.
So you
yeah.
capitalize on errors more than
Yeah,
force them.
thank you.
Hmm.
See, that's why you're the engineer of this whole thing, Bill. Yeah, I capitalize on other people's, like, even the slightest little, I was like, oh, okay, now I can do this, this, and this. But that's not the plan develops because of their error, not because I had that necessarily concretely planned that out.
So you're like a counterpuncher in boxing. You hang back, you wait, you keep your defenses up, you don't get hit, right? You just wait until they put their guard down and then you go in. Once you see
Right.
it, you counter strike. But knowing how to launch an actual attack and knowing when, that's the important thing. When and what are the targets? That is something that definitely is it's a
Yeah.
different type, and that is the type of chess that I enjoy playing. I play, again, aggressive, attacking moves, and the pawn structures, the pawn breaks is where I'm probably relatively weaker in. It's something I'm working on. But again, you don't even have to get all that much better at it for it to start showing up in your gameplay. Um, yeah, identifying what the targets and weaknesses are, understanding some of the ways that attacks get carried out. You castle opposite sides, you're going to storm your pawns. Now, how do you do that? Well, there's a lot of detailed bits of information that you can kind of gather up as you learn and you play more games. Um,
Right.
but yeah, 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 I know exactly what you're talking about. And there's more kernels of wisdom to be had.
Right. Right. Because I can see that I do. that's again one of the things in that in the Chessiverse personality thing that I thought was funny, and I just really is starting to put it together. That it says, yeah, I'm aggressive, risk take, but I'm also patient.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, how is that? And that, but I think it's in how what you just said that I'm patient in waiting to see where this guy's going to mess or person's going to mess up,
Uh-huh.
you know? And so I can make some careful moves in between moves, maybe, um, while, that unfolds, you
Hmm.
know? I'm not in a hurry. I really don't blunder a lot because of that.
Yeah.
But I don't take initiative when I think I probably could for in most of the games.
Yeah.
Mhm. But
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's a constant process of layering different nuanced understanding of the types of positions. Um, so yeah, that's what the game review and analysis is really good at in the dojo. You have a game, you either succeeded or failed. You go and you review it with a person at your similar level because maybe they're a lot better at calculation and you're a lot better at pawn breaks or whatever. And then you say, I saw this. And they say, oh, I didn't even think about that. I saw this. And then you guys both get together and you go to a person that's higher rated and they say, you guys saw nothing. No.
right, no, it's
But
true.
like,
It's true.
but like, they will expand your mind to the other plans, tricks, tactics that were there the entire time. That's one thing that I think I've been encouraged by as well. Like when I make a bad move in a game and I think I'm worse, I'll oftentimes pause and think to myself, I bet if it was a grandmaster playing this position, they would still be able to beat the opponent. There's probably some sneaky hidden resource that I just can't fathom yet. And so I'll sit there and I'll think and I'll think, and sometimes I can find them. But that's beautiful. It's like a game with a lot of depth, a lot of intrigue. And I just like being stronger at the game now because more of its secrets have been unveiled to me. Um, yeah, I'm super curious about it.
Yeah.
So we've made this podcast all about you, and we've had a ton of fun with that. However, we only thought it fair, since you have looked at our games, that you treat us like the pinatas that we are and tell the doctor what he's relatively good at, what his weaknesses are,
Uh-huh.
and perhaps what you think he should work on next.
Well, I think that the doctor, um, I think that you're right. I think that you typically don't make a lot of blunders, but I do think that um, you've had opportunities to pursue aggressive and actively placed pieces that you chose not to. I've seen you trade down pieces when the trades didn't benefit you. I think for you, working on calculation and really understanding tempo at a higher level is going to be really helpful. Understanding um, piece activity and aggressive maneuvers. I would say calculation and tactics is going to really help you. Um, but I've seen again sometimes in endgame positions where you've got like a queen and a rook and something else. I've seen you slice and dice people. I'm telling you, like I saw it and I was like, I couldn't have done better. Like really, in
Yeah.
one game, I was like, geez, that was slick. So I think that you have the capacity to become a really strong attacking player. I think you just need to clarify it a little bit, and you need to organize your thoughts, and you need to understand and have that clarity of when do I pour on the gas? When do I understand that the position is telling me go full throttle? Once you get that insight, you're going to be taking people out.
Mm. Definitely, I definitely on the I struggle with the trading.
Hmm.
The when to what to, and I find that sometimes I'm a trading maniac.
Yeah.
Then I'm trying, and I know everything you say is true because then when Jesse reviews it, he's like, "Why are you taking that coconut? Why are you taking that coconut?
Yeah.
Why are yeah?" It's not like I go, I
You're
have
like,
no
I'm flipping a
idea.
coin, man. I don't
That's
know. Sometimes I do it and
yeah,
sometimes it works.
but that's the truth of it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, this looks like this, you know, but you're right. I didn't calculate it all, or four, three, four moves into it.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, well, I probably won't be too hurt with it.
Yeah.
It's yeah, yeah. What about you, Bill? Stop talking about me. I want what about Bill?
Oh, you want me to give the breakdown on Bill? Okay.
Yeah, please. I feel, yeah.
Yeah.
Strengths
So
I
none.
feel
so
I feel shamed enough already. Go.
so
Strengths none.
I think Bill needs to be aware of what his opponent is about to do to him, right?
That would be a welcome change from my past performances.
So, so,
That's a great
so
one.
I've seen a couple of games between you two and between Bill and other folks, and again, sometimes he's got the read on the position, and then there'll be like a simple one move mate threat or two move sequence of mate threat, and he just won't spot it. And he'll think that he's dealing with it, but he hasn't actually calculated it. So I would say for you, Bill, also calculation is going to be really, really important. But what you should do is you should calculate positions, like set up a tactic, flip the board around, solve it from your opponent's perspective, because you need to see what somebody else is about to do to you. You need to get comfortable looking at what they're going to do to you because you play a very one-sided game, right?
I
You,
don't know
I,
what you're talking about.
I think that you are going out to get that person, and I can empathize with this because I historically was also in this camp. I gained a lot of skill and ability when I stopped solving puzzles from the winning perspective and I solved them from the loser's perspective because it forced me to think about what the aggressive intentions of my opponent were. And then I actually started like blunder checking myself and I started understanding the dynamics of the position. Um, yeah, and obviously, like learning to be more organized with your calculation will be helpful.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Well,
I,
that's a shorter list than I expected.
I mean, again, I think it's easy to be able to point out um, deficits at the levels that we're at
Sure.
because we're bad at most things. I think that again,
That's
I put myself into that category.
what I'm
Um,
most bad at right now, right?
yeah, yeah, and the beauty of it is whenever you can identify a new thing that you're bad at, that's your next task, right?
Yep.
right.
Yeah. That's kind of how I used the dojo. I used the dojo as my baseline.
Hmm.
And like if it says I need to do X and Y, do X and Y. And then if I've got extra time, I do the problem child, I refer to it as, you know. So
Can I ask a question
it's a podcast. Of course you can.
about blunders and blunder checking?
Yeah.
Um, what I noticed for me is that, and it's connected to calculation.
Hmm.
I'm paying attention to my move or the my opponent's move that he made or is gonna make,
Hmm.
and blunder check that, right?
Hmm.
And I think what I don't pay attention to and where I get caught short is that in the calculation that actually the blunder is going to come in the third move if I don't understand the this calculation or tactic well enough that okay, this looks three moves down, okay, this looks good, 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 and then I don't make the extra move or thought, right? And
Yeah.
sure enough, it looks good, and then I don't make it, so okay, this looks good, and then boom, 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 bam, I blundered.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's the notorious difference between every single level in chess, as far as I can tell, is that typically the higher rated you are, the faster and deeper you search, and the more clear and concise you are with your attacks, your defense, and all of it. Um, there's details. You become a little bit more accurate, a little bit more fastidious about your organization, and therefore you look a move deeper. You look a move broader. You look at a way that you're not actually worried about that issue, right? You've already solved that, and that's what differentiates you from the rung beneath you. Um, so it's yeah, look one move deeper. Now, again, if that means training yourself to be able to see the board clearly in your mind, that's training visualization, right? If it's a matter of if you can see deeply, and that's not an issue for you, but you need to understand how to organize your thought and use rules to like filter out what is the most likely move to be um, accurate at that different level. And then use that process over and over again until it becomes more normal. I like using the checks captures threats. I think some people think that above a certain level you don't really need to look at that anymore. But I think that it's very helpful to just like pound that into your head when you're a newer player, because then that way you start seeing them, even when you're not looking for them. Like you do checks, captures, threats in training, so that that way when you're playing in a game, you'll kind of just automatically be aware of them.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Or you just ignore them and get clubbed over the head. I mean, that's what I've heard anyway.
You just require a large stimulus to change your ways. That's all it is, Bill.
My God, such a stubborn idiot. That's fine. It's fine. All right. Before we go, last one. I've
Okay,
got tons more, but last one because
sure,
you deserve to have a life beyond the podcast.
sure.
What's your bucket list for chess? Do you have like a rating goal or a
Oh man.
tournament
hmm
thing, or I want to play against Kasparov, or what? And the bucket list, it's a list. It's not a single item. So what are you thinking?
So first, when I started off, it was to be able to play, a game and make legal moves, right? I did that,
I
and
think you
then
got that
it
covered, buddy.
changed. Yeah, and then it changed. Uh, and I set different goals, and then I wanted to be able to win in a single game of tournament play. And then it was like, well, now I want to cross over this rating threshold. And currently, um, I want to reach 1500 USCF. That's my short-term goal in
Hmm.
this year, midterm goal, whatever. Um, my friend that I've talked with you about has crested over 1800. I think that that would be a big time achievement. I hear a lot of people that start when they're adults and they say, I want to be a master, I want to be an expert. And I just think to myself, like, it's good to shoot, aim high, but like, I also think, um, I
You
also
don't
think
really know
like
what you're talking about at
it's
some point.
hard. It's
Yeah,
really hard. And like I even to get to the level that I'm at now, I've had to put in a lot of effort. I've put in a lot of time. I've
right.
really worked hard at it for years. And I just don't want to think that I can just do this thing as an adult and be ultimately successful. It's like I don't know. Um, so I think I would love to be able to crest over 1800. I think that that would be an amazing long-term goal for me. Uh, but I think play beautiful, amazing tactical positions, like have nice wins, right?
Hmm.
That's one. Number two, have fun, meet people. I think, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Um, Spread the joy of the game. I do scholastic coaching and I do tutoring, and I
Right.
think that that's another bucket list of mine. It's less objective, but it's definitely a passion of mine.
Yeah. So just to calibrate for people, maybe one of our listeners is thinking about starting or just started.
hmm
You mentioned your current rating. You mentioned you've got a midterm goal and maybe a long-term goal.
Yeah.
When you're just starting,
hmm
just to give them like a rough estimate, what's a reasonable year elo wise? Like they're not going to go in their first year from unrated to 2000, right? It's not going
Yeah.
to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But you're also, you know, a good year would be this, or maybe an average year would be kind of this. Do you have a good feel for that? Because in the beginning, it's kind of hard to do because the spread is wide.
I think that everybody's path is different and everyone has a different level of talent. I do believe that there are people that have hard limits of being unable to get to certain levels.
Hmm.
I think that if you're first starting to play the game, if you're learning how to play the game, uh, gosh, if you can, I don't I honestly I don't even want to give an expectation for a person because in my mind I'm not fighting to reach a level because I want to have a metric of progress, right? I know
Hmm.
what the average estimated level would be, whatever. I know what the median might be,
Right.
but it's a personal journey. And
Sure.
I really truly believe about it's one of the ways that I can remove ego from it. It's one of the
Hmm.
ways that I can remove expectations at those external pressures by saying, I want to be better in a year than what I was right now. And I think
Hmm.
that that is a freeing way of looking at the game. I can tell you approximately my progress,
Sure. Let's do
if you're
that.
interested in hearing my progress. Um, so I have it looks like in August of 2022, I had a rating of 1147 USCF, and by July of 2025, I had a rating of 1445. Um, so you do the math. I think that I've
300.
put
Yeah.
in, I think I've worked considerably harder than the average chess player, and I think that I I think of myself as, how do I put this? I don't think of myself as a person who has less than average talent. I don't think of myself as a handicapped chess learner. Um, but I certainly don't think of myself as being a gifted learner. I don't
Right.
think of myself as being a prodigious learner. So I think if you gain 100 points in a year, I think that you're doing great. I mean, if you
Yeah.
go up a full cohort in a year, then I think you're doing great.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I just don't want people having unrealistic expectations. Like, I just started this game. I'm going to work hard for this year and I'm going to get to 1200, you know.
yeah, I think I've worked really hard, and I put a lot of effort into it, and I'm like 1440-ish, and I've been playing for, what is it now? Like 4 years, 5 years, something like that.
It's getting close. Yeah.
Um, maybe even, yeah, five-ish years. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen overnight. Don't expect to be able to, break 1,000 chess.com. Don't expect that. Now, if you're one of these freaks that can just do it, then good for you. Like
Yeah.
wonderful. Some people can, I've heard of people having kids that crested like 1,800 in 2 years, and that's
Yeah.
wonderful. It's not me.
No.
Um,
But
and it
don't judge your
probably won't be a listener.
but
But
don't judge your progress versus others. That
no,
doesn't matter.
everybody has their own journey. Yeah. And are you having fun? Because again, if you're an adult learner and you're picking up chess, it's hard. And you don't have to base yourself against other people's progress. Are you having fun? Are
Yeah.
you are you able to understand the game a little deeper than you used to?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're
Even
club players.
yeah, even if you don't see elo gain, do you feel like you're better?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And that I think is one of the biggest joys. I think if I had my druthers, I wouldn't play in tournament games. I don't love the competition. I don't love that exposure. What I truly love is studying and having revelations about the game, right? Like, oh man, if I just couldn't quite understand why, when you move the knight away, there's this discovered check and it ends up being a checkmate in this version and not in the other. And you go through and then finally one day it clicks and you're like, "Oh, I get it. I have the
Hmm.
realization that I have shown progress and growth in this one area. That is thrilling for me. That is a big dopamine hit for me. And I revel in those moments. And I pause and I take time to like really appreciate that I just experienced growth. No growth can be taken for granted. It's
Yeah.
always special when you get better. It should be treated that way at least.
Yeah. I mean, I've played a few games this year where I was like, old Bill would not have seen that, or old Bill would have fallen right into that trap, or hope,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, current Bill still falls into some of old Bill's problems, but we're working on those. It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because ultimately it's a hobby, and if you're not having fun doing it, you shouldn't be doing it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So, Doctor, I think we should say thank you to our guest, and I believe this is part one of many. And
Thank you.
maybe we'll have Sweetgland on next time, and then maybe we'll have Carl on next time, and then we'll come up with more names to call you. But thank you for spending the amount of time that you did and indulging us with some of our inane, idiotic questions. We did not do the Fast and Furious Storytime questions. We have those. We'll hold those for a future episode. But thank you for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah,
Excellent.
appreciate you guys.
No
All
worries.
right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. See you in the
Got it.
Discord.
See you there.